have opened the alcohol attractiveness data set that we did back in week 3 or so. It might have been earlier than that. And we're going to have a look at doing one of the non-parametric tests. Now all I'm interested in for this one is just the pre-attractiveness score and the drink type. But we're going to import the whole data sheet into SPSS. So to do that, you don't need to have the Excel sheet open, but you do need to know where it is. So just remember which folder you put it into. If I go into SPSS, you need to go to File, Open, Data. It will by default look for .sav files. If you toggle that down and then look for Excel files, you'll see more. So click on the dataset that you want, open, just popped up on the other screen. And this first row here where it says read variable names from the first row of data, make sure that's ticked. And when you set up your Excel spreadsheets for your project, make sure that you only have one row at the top for your headers, because then it will read them in automatically. You don't have to read the data in, you can just cut and paste it, but it tends to be a bit faster if you've got a lot of data or complicated names. Click OK. Let's open it up in a new set. So if we just look at the data view, we've got our header row has been imported correctly. All of these numbers have been imported okay. We seem to have these two mystery columns, V8 and V9. Not sure where they're from. I'm just going to select them both, right click and then clear. And then the other thing, if you scroll down to the bottom of the data, you'll see these little dots, and that 114 to 119 are dark instead of faded. So for whatever reason, SPSS thinks that there is some missing data here, that there should be numbers, but there's not. And it may give you warning messages whenever you do anything that you've got these missing cases, whereas they're not actually missing, it just didn't import correctly. So these mystery cases down the bottom here, again, just highlight them all, select them all, right click and clear. Okay, so we've got our data in. If we go into the variable view, whenever you import data, you need to check that SPSS is interpreting it correctly. So at the moment everything's numeric, and that's fine because it was all numeric. Over on the measure column we've got that the participant is scale, and this is just the participant number and it doesn't matter because we're not using it, so I'm just going to ignore that. The drink type is nominal, so they were either in the alcohol group or the placebo group where they got the non-alcoholic wine, so that's nominal, which is correct. And then we're just interested in these pre-attractiveness scores before the experiment started, and that is listed as scale. It was on a scale of 0 to 10, so we could also put it down as ordinal. And we're going to treat it as ordinal today. Now the last thing that we're missing is these labels. You can type them all in, but if you have them in your Excel sheet, and you may well have done this for your project, here it's called a data dictionary, you might have called it something else, just to make sure that you use consistent numbering throughout each member of the group. So if you're going to have 1 for the intervention group and 2 for the control group, you need to make sure that everybody in the group is using the same numbers, and so it's a good idea to work this out before you collect any data. You can cut and paste this into SPSS, so if you just select each of these and copy into SPSS, I've got too many data sheets open, here we go, and then into label, you just need to click on the first one and then paste, and it will pop them in there. So now we've got our labels. Now the only thing we really need to put in is these labels here, 1 equals intervention, 2 equals control. It would probably be easier on the graphs if we had that in the values, so that on the graphs it actually writes intervention and control instead of 1 and 2. So if you click into values, click on the little blue dots, and we'll just type this in. 1 is intervention, add, and 2 is control, add. Okay. Now we could check the other ones, but all I want is the first few columns for this next bit, so that's all I need. Now we're all set up and good to go.